everyone, and welcome to our masterclass on streaming broadcast quality video into Remo. We are going to be talking today with one of our agency partners who she does a lot of focus in this area. Hi, Rebecca. Can you do a quick introduction of yourself?
I'd be happy to. Hello, my name's Rebecca. I'm with PKA Solves, and we are one of the agency partners. And today we're going to be talking about streaming as far as taking something from one software, putting it into Remo, and making you shine. Because at PKA Solves, we like to say that we help people shine online every time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rebecca. So, guys, can you do me a favor? If we're coming in clear, if you guys can hear us, can you please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button or the hand clap emoji? They are in the lower right hand corner of your screen. Awesome. Great. And Jared, if you can there we go. Jared knows me well enough. If you can please kick off into the chat, just a hello and where you are coming from. I am Katrina. I am here with Team Remo. I am one of the event experts here at Remo, and I am coming to you from sunny San Diego, California. Rebecca, I believe you are in Florida. Awesome.
Nice and sunny here, too.
So we have Jared, which is leading hashtag Team Canada, Reading, California. Hi, James. Dublin. So Barry is also Team Remo. He is coming in from Ireland. Sabrina is someone I'm going to introduce you guys to. Is here from Moscow, Russia, my second hometown. Mark, hello from Lafayette, Louisiana. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Ellis, you're in Sweden via North County, San Diego. I am just straight down the 15 from you. So that's awesome. Nice to always see somebody that's in the same town that you are in. But in Sweden via North County, San Diego. I love that. I'd love to hear more about that in a little bit. So we are going to talk today about how you can use third-party software to stream in. So in our conversation mode, you saw a unique floor plan that we use for pub trivia nights, or we'll use it for I've actually used it for live calling bingo, where I have the billboard blown up very large and it's placed into the center of the room. And through that billboard, I then stream live through some of the techniques that Rebecca is going to show you today. For what I did today, I just simply took a Twitch stream that is streaming right now through Twitch, and I put it in as a placeholder so that there is some music whenever people come in. And the good thing with Twitch is that with where the billboard is, you can just mute it if you want to. So that's kind of some of the magic that you saw whenever you came in, and there was purpose and method behind my floor plan choice for the day. But Rebecca, I'm going to turn it over to you. What is the first software that we're going to be looking at today? Oh, you're muted.
That's just the way of the world these days. Oh, you're muted. Yes, we're going to be doing OBS first. And I started sharing my screen so that you could kind of see a little bit of behind the scenes, what I'm going to be doing with OBS. So we covered this in a previous live stream, but a previous class. But the great thing about OBS is that because I have all these different sources that I can add in, I can do really cool things like resize myself. And this is not the only place that you can do something like this, but I think it's a pretty cool function or feature of OBS. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is creating a scene in OBS, and then we're going to be streaming it into Remo. So
Rebecca, can I ask you really quick, OBS, what is it and how do we find it?
yeah, that's a very good question. OBS stands for Open Source Broadcasting System, and you can go to obsproject.com to get a hold of it. It'll be very easy to download. And the great thing about OBS, there's pros and cons. The pro is that it's free and that it can do almost anything you want it to do. The con is that you have to learn how to do that. And that's why I'm here to help with this session. And also, that's why we specialize in that. If you're trying to do something super cool and you can't figure out how to do it, we probably can figure out how to do it here at PKA Solves.
Thank you for that. So you're using OBS right now. It is a program that you have downloaded onto your computer, so it's not something that you can just go into the web and play around with.
Right. You will have to go to obsproject.com and download it. It'll download to your computer. It's free. And then once you open it up, you'll see something very similar to what I'm sharing right now. You won't see anything over here in scenes or over here in sources because you'll be brand new. But in our previous session, we talked about how to add scenes and sources, and I can do that again, or I can jump ahead. What do you think would be best, Katrina?
Let's just do a quick review of the scenes and sources, if we can do that. And then for those of you who were not at our last session, I'll go ahead and put that link into the chat. And then I can also, for those who are on the video replay, it's going to be located under our Success Labs for how to create virtual backgrounds.
And you can always reach out to us here at PKA Solves as well. So over here on the left-hand side at the bottom are scenes, and that's kind of like, you can think of it like scenes in a play. Every scene that you create is a new setup that you can switch to. So if you want to have, for instance, a scene where you're at the bottom and you're sharing your screen here, that could be one of your scenes. If you want to have a scene where you're a little bit bigger, full screen, and you have like a different background, that could be a scene. So right now I'm manipulating everything within one scene, but you can create several different scenes. I only have the one pulled up right now so that it's a little bit simpler to show you, but we're going to be building this scene today. So, and that's what we did in our last thing. So the gist is that you go over here to scenes and click on the plus sign. When you click on the plus sign, it'll ask you to enter a name for your scene. You can name it whatever you want. I generally start with a cam and mic scene. So I say camera, and microphone as the name of my scene. And then I blacked out because there's nothing in this scene. We haven't added anything. But if you can see my cursor down here, we've got sources. And so what we're going to do is add a source to this scene. You can't see this, but there's a bunch of different sources I can add. I can add audio sources, color sources, displays, et cetera, et cetera. So I always encourage people to add a video capture device and audio capture device to this so that it's easy. So I'll add in my video capture device first. This is what I look like without all the fancy bells and whistles. And then what I like to do is crop that scene. So I press Alt on my Mac and then grab a corner, and then you can easily crop in and then just kind of adjust yourself to be as big or small as you want to be. I'm in front of a green screen, so it's taking out my background. And I cropped out the part that wasn't on the green screen. So that's what I do. And then I also add in an audio source. I go down to that plus sign again, click on it, and add in audio input capture, which is kind of near to the top. I already have a USB mic. And so it'll look like this when you, in the sources section, when you've made this scene correctly, your camera and mic scene. I always say add a camera and mic first, and then you can have, you can add that scene to all of your other scenes. So this is my mic, my camera. Yours might look different, but that's what you're shooting for. Then you can make your second scene. Go down to the bottom here in scenes, click the plus sign. I'm going to name this Remo demo scene. Oh, that's exactly what I named it the last time. It wouldn't let me name it that. Remo scene 2. All right. So now again, it's blank because I haven't added anything. But what I'm going to do now is go down to sources again, click the plus sign, go to scene, and add in my camera and mic scene. So now, because I created it in a previous scene, I can add that scene to this new scene. It's kind of like Inception, the movie Inception, when you're in a dream, where we added a scene to a scene. Now I can add whatever I like to the scene as well. So I think that first of all, I'm going to crop out this section here, but then I'm going to add in my television. So I'm going to click the plus sign down here. I'm going to add in an image. I'm going to add in my TV image behind me. Oh, it's in front of me, but this is good to point out. So I added an image. I'm going to make it full screen. And then over here in sources, anything that's on the top will show on the top. Anything that's on the bottom will show on the bottom. So I can click on my camera and mic scene and just click the up arrow, and voila, now I'm on top. And if I would like to move myself around, I can. Resize myself, I can. I think it's neat to put myself in this television. So that's what I'm going to do today. all of that was pretty fast, but that's what we covered last time. Now we can cover new stuff this time. So I hope you're not dizzy from how fast I'm going with that. You can always stop, replay. So you'll notice down here it says stop virtual camera, and that's because I'm using a virtual camera to come in to Remo through OBS, and that's going to be a really important part of your process as well. So for me, like once you get the virtual camera set up, all you have to do is press start virtual camera here, and it will start the virtual camera. Then after you've done that, you can go to Remo. And if you'll look at your Remo screen right now, at the bottom, there's a thing that says cam on or mic on, and there's a tiny up arrow that's next to it. If you click on that up arrow, you'll see any of your webcams that is attached to your screen. So
I'm
for
going to show
me,
on mine because everybody has theirs turned off right now because
great.
it's sort of presentation mode. So this is what Rebecca's talking about.
Do you want me to stop sharing, or do you think that that's what we're talking about? So there at the bottom, if Katrina could show you at the bottom, cam on. So you're going to click on that little up arrow and you'll see any of your cameras that are connected. And so what you want to see there is OBS virtual camera, and that's how you know that OBS is shaking hands with Remo successfully.
Can you guys confirm that you're seeing my screen? Or are you guys seeing Rebecca's screen still on the main portion? Can anyone type in Rebecca? Are you seeing my screen? You still okay?
I see my screen really large.
Yep. So this is a technical issue that we're having today. So I'm going to put us into tile view for just 1 second.
Perfect.
So this way you guys can see right here. This is where we're talking about is this OBS virtual cam. So right here in the middle, there we go. I can jump us back over. So right here is where she's talking about is this black button. And I have my OBS virtual camera also selected, which is where you can see my logo. So thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, no problem at all. So that's really quick, but that's what I have to say. I have one more thing to say about the virtual camera. So if your virtual camera isn't working, you'll probably need to start either OBS, Remo, or both. So that's my quick troubleshooting tip. If you do all of these steps and your virtual camera isn't working, you probably need to close it and open it back up, and then hopefully you'll see OBS there again. There are a lot of nerds online that can help you with this, and I'm one of those nerds. So if you have any questions, reach out to me. But I think that is basically covers OBS.
And my recommendation is that you start your virtual camera, like your third-party software, like your OBS or or any of the, start with your camera being used in there and then come into Remo and select it from the drop-down. Now your mic and cam test may show that there's a failure because it says that your mic and cam is being used elsewhere. It is. It's because you have it turned on inside OBS. So I find that if I turn on my microphone and camera in my third-party software, and then I come into Remo and turn it on like we just showed you where we select from that arrow, then that is the best way to get it to kick in because it's browser based. Sometimes Remo has your microphone and camera and it does not want to surrender it to the OBS or to Streamyard or XCam. So.
And because it's browser based, you're going to want to use your browser to troubleshoot that. So if you're in Google Chrome, you're going to want to click around the settings in Google Chrome to make sure that your virtual camera, OBS in this case, is shaking hands well with Google Chrome, which then can shake hands well with Remo. If you're using Firefox, you're going to want to make sure that you've allowed Firefox to use your virtual cam, which will then shake hands with Remo. So that's an additional troubleshooting step that you can go through if this is giving you problems.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Katrina, I'm a different type of nerd. The Baby Yoda type of nerd. I love that so much.
His name is Grogu. His name is Grogu.
So that kind of covers OBS. Does anyone have any questions about that?
And you can raise your hand if you want to. Yeah, if you want to come up, you can raise your hand if you want to put a question into the Q&A. Otherwise, what are we going to talk about next?
I can talk about StreamYard for a little bit. I'll go ahead and get StreamYard sharing with you guys.
And
Possibly.
this is great because you can. We also have a lot of people asking, um, how can I make certain things look standard? I have a conference and I have 5 speakers. How can I make them look standard? And this is a good way to do it. And Rebecca, this is a lot of what you do as well, right? Where you
Yeah,
coach people through.
we have what we call getting broadcast ready. So we help all of the speakers at the event get broadcast ready, which is a process. We evaluate your equipment, your lights, camera, action, whatever you've got in your studio, and we also offer consultations for equipment you can buy in your studio to make you look great and to make it comfortable for you on your end as well. And then we get everyone broadcast ready using some of these virtual cams so that everyone looks cohesive at the event, because no one wants to speak at an event and not look great and get that recording after the fact and feel not so great about the way they look. So that's what we do. We get people broadcast ready at PKA Solves.
And one of the questions that's coming in while you're getting set up with your StreamYard, Barry's asking, what's your streaming provider preference, and is there a benefit from one over the other?
There are lots of benefits. Now that I have used OBS and I finally feel like really solid and comfortable that I can make anything that I want happen in OBS, I prefer OBS. But there are lots of different ones that you can use. I know that Katrina, I think that her favorite one might be which we talked about last time. That one is a little bit more user friendly to just jump in and start. So sometimes I recommend it to my clients because there's a lot less front end learning that you have to do, but a lot less customization that you can do after the fact too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not less, but they have great options. Is also a great option for a streaming provider.
And I do know that we have other event hosts, and they have kind of what they've found to be like their favorites. I know StreamYard is popular here in the United States. I know over in the UK and Europe, a lot of those guys prefer XCam or ManyCam. ManyCam, those are the big ones that I've heard about. Um, so James is asking, where does a StreamYard or come in once you've already configured the OBS? So what we're talking about, StreamYard is a product, is a product, OBS is a product. They don't necessarily work together. We're just showing you different options of different products that can potentially be used. And then when Rebecca is finished, I'm going to show you like a few other ways that you can stream certain things in. So they're each their own independent product that do their own independent things. So James is asking if they're all the same with functionality. That is OBS, I think, has the most functionality, but again, it's one of the more like you really need to sit down for a couple hours and learn how to use it. And they have different functionality, so it really depends on what your goal is for what you want for your event as to which platform you think is going to be right for you. And there's a couple factors I think that would go in with that. And Rebecca, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it'd be what's your experience level or what's your user's experience level? What's their bandwidth, like literally of what's their internet bandwidth and what's their bandwidth figuratively of time wise to have to learn something. And then 3, what do you need to get done with it? Is it a virtual background? Because like you can create a template and send that to everybody, and they just upload it to and then they just turn it on. If there's OBS, like you can give the settings, but there's quality trade off.
And a
So
lot of hand holding too.
yeah, yeah. So some of these are the broadcast quality that you're going to see coming into Remo. There is some of our hosts who do this a lot notice a broadcast quality difference, and that's why they have their own preferred preference. So Rebecca, are you set up with
So I
StreamYard?
think that I can do StreamYard, but I'll just let you know that we'll probably be doing some troubleshooting together because today's just been a little bit funky. But I think that it'll be good. We might be able to troubleshoot together. So this is my screen, screens on screens on screens, and I'll go ahead and log into StreamYard really quick.
And then are you using a Mac or are you using a PC?
Oh, I'm on a Mac, so that's important. Like when I said before that I use the Alt key to crop, that's a Mac specific thing. So that's one of those, yeah, that is one of those things that is really important to mention, that this will be slightly different depending. Okay, so I'm in StreamYard and I logged into StreamYard, and now I'm entering a broadcast studio. And I think I mentioned earlier that I usually use Google Chrome, but today I'm using Firefox. So you'll be able to kind of watch me troubleshoot this process. So just like in Remo, a lot of times it'll have this allow mic cam access. So you're going to click allow mic cam access. And this is a really good example of allowing access to your camera and microphone. Up here, it says allow StreamYard to use your camera and microphone. And if I chose this Logitech Brio, that's the name of my camera, it would show just my camera. But what I want to show instead of my camera is my virtual camera. So in this case, I could choose or OBS. Those are the two that I have hooked up. I'm going to choose OBS. And then I also have the option to choose my microphone. And you can click remember this decision if that is always the thing that you're going to be using. So let's click allow. Woohoo! So now I'm using OBS to stream into StreamYard, which will then stream into Remo. So all that inception, like we said before. It has an option for a display name. Sometimes I type in my name here. Sometimes if my design aesthetic is a little bit different, I'll just put a space because you have to have something. But my name's Rebecca with PKA Solves. So I'll enter the studio here. This is one of my clients' backgrounds. Her brand is Be Green with Amy. I don't know if you can see, but at the very bottom here on the left-hand side, there's a button that shows up that says add to stream. And if I click on it, now I'm in the stream. We also have a few other options like branding. For instance, if I want to take this brand color and make it not green, but make it like hot pink instead, I could. I could change the way that it showed up. So that's pretty cool. I can add in logos. I can add in overlays. So there's a lot of different stuff we could do. We could play videos. So I think that this is a really great option if you have multiple users that you want to have on screen at the same time. It's a little bit hard to see, but down here are all the different views, and you can have up to 10 people in your StreamYard at once. And then StreamYard gives you the option to stream to multiple things at once. So we can stream to YouTube, we can stream to LinkedIn, we can stream to all sorts of different things. But if you have a stream to YouTube, that'll work really well with Remo. Remo and YouTube play really well together. So that's one thing that you can do. And I'll have Katrina share this part, share her screen for this part, but you can take this StreamYard thing and you can add it in like a YouTube link into Remo. And that's a really good way to get those two things to handshake, if that makes sense. Actually, I'm sharing my screen, so maybe do I have access to, yeah, okay. So, well, actually, Katrina, I'll let you do this part. Do you mind?
No, I don't mind. Do you have
great.
the URL?
Yeah. And just like in Remo, you can invite people to your event. You can do that in StreamYard too. So just to let you know, it may not, I haven't given you access, so it may give you some issues, but I just chatted you the link that I'm using.
And so for those of you who are a little bit newer to Remo, what I'm doing is I'm just going into my More tab because as a host, I have a More tab. I am clicking on Share Video. And let me try that again.
I might be able to do it.
My YouTube this isn't working for me.
We're just having this is just a glitch day. Doesn't happen often, but it's one of those days. So I don't know that you can see, but here's my cursor. Down here is the More.
Yeah.
And we can click share video here. And this is a really good way to share a YouTube, Vimeo, or Twitch URL. So I think that this will work. If I do it, I'll enable video controls for other participants. That's fun. Well, actually, I don't think that you should. I don't think you should if you're actually doing this, so I won't. So now we'll click play and see how that goes. Oh, I'm not going.
Yeah, I think I had heard that there was a report that we're having a problem with the YouTube relay. Actually, the link that I have is a streamyard.com. It's not a YouTube relay.
That's why.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
Well,
That's it.
that's it. Okay. So let's go back to StreamYard, and I'll back out of this and kind of show you a little bit more. So I have like I'll create a broadcast so you can see that part. So once you're in StreamYard, one of the things you can do is create a broadcast. I was using one of the ones I had before, but we'll make a new broadcast. And then you can hook up all of your Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and whatever you like. So we'll go ahead and do a YouTube one. And this is a test Remo stream. And I'm not going to make it public. I'm going to make it unlisted. You can also choose to schedule it for later if you like, and you can have a thumbnail image and say when you want to do it, but we'll just do it unlisted and do it for right now.
And this
So
is
now,
a really, really good point to make, where we see a lot of common errors is I don't want this to go out over my YouTube channel live, but I also need it to be broadcast into Remo. So it's very important that you choose unlisted, not private. If you choose the private listing inside of YouTube, that means that it cannot be accessed out of YouTube. So if the choice is either make it a public YouTube or unpublished. So the unpublished you can still copy and paste and put into the video feed inside Remo and it will play. The good way to troubleshoot if you're getting a blocked error message, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be because it's listed as private.
yes. So again, that's public, private, and unlisted. And what you want is unlisted. All right, so let's try it. We'll see. Over here in the top right-hand corner is a go live. It kind of has a double opt-in. So you click go live, and now we're live. Woohoo! So welcome to our broadcast. This is a video about streaming from StreamYard to Remo. So let's do it. So we're going to go now back in, and what I want to do is grab the YouTube link that I'm using. So I'll go ahead and click on view on YouTube. I will copy that real quick and exit back out. Hopefully that doesn't create any problems. Then I'll go back into Remo, click that more button like we were saying, click share video, and this has to be a link that's either YouTube, Vimeo, Twitch, a URL from one of those. And so what Katrina pointed out before was we didn't have the YouTube link, but now we do have the YouTube link. So we'll see if that works. A URL from one of those. And so what Katrina pointed out before was we didn't have the YouTube link, but now we do have the YouTube link. So we'll see if that works.
So, and you will notice there is a slight delay. So when Rebecca started broadcasting live, you guys saw firsthand that there is about a 10-second delay or so when you do your broadcast and you route it through YouTube and to come in. What are some uses why you would want to do this? One of the good uses is that you can have multiple buildings. So if you have an overflow building, you can have this split into both buildings. So you have your master presenter who's talking in one, and then it is shared into multiple buildings. Or this way, you can just put the YouTube live link in. So Rebecca would be in her control studio, and what she's broadcasting from that master studio can then be shared to multiple buildings. The other thing is if you want to have a building here in Remo and you want to have it shared live on like your Facebook Live page, or you want to have it shared somewhere else, this is another good use case for why you might want to do this. Can we take a question right now? Jared has a question real quick. Or
yes.
do you? Okay. All right, Jared.
This is a great time.
Come on up and ask your question, Jared.
So much excellent content, Rebecca. But wouldn't it be much easier and efficient? This is how I advise my clients to stream presentation mode directly to YouTube Live, grab that YouTube Live link, and drop it in your other buildings. Isn't that much easier?
It can be easier. I don't mean to jump on you, Rebecca, but It can be easier depending on what your use case is and what your needs are. If it's simply for the overflow, then I would suggest that what Jared's advising, yes. But if you have like a TV studio that has multiple people who are speaking and you want to have like a clear flow of things, or if you have like satellites that are coming in from different places, Rebecca's option is a good option. But I'll turn it over to you, Rebecca.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I think that there are different use cases where things are better. But what I'm trying to show just now is that StreamYard allows you to go live on YouTube. And then if you grab that YouTube link, that's how you can get StreamYard to shake hands with Remo, is specifically what I'm trying
Well,
to show
I
there.
think it'll be easier. I'll just hire you to deal with it next time, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you for that question, Jared. We do have questions a lot about streaming, and especially as hybrid events are going to come more to the forefront, you're going to see people wanting to have multiple cameras, and they're going to want to have multiple speakers, or I just helped with an event where they were just going across the country. So they had a command center in New York, they had a command center in Chicago, they had a command center, and these events were going off. And so this is a really good way to troubleshoot and to solve the issues of how do I get all of these moving logistics together, and then be able to broadcast them into Remo and to broadcast them into other platforms as well.
I saw we got a question that hit a character limit, so we're going to get it in the chat. But the other question that I see in the Q&A is, which is best for hybrid events and sharing live audience questions with at-home guests? Ooh, this is something that I didn't mention in this particular broadcast, but something that is cool about StreamYard allow is that you're able to, in StreamYard, you're able to display comments like kind of right here. So if you have people that are commenting live on YouTube or live wherever it is that you're streaming, you can select which comments that you want to show, and you can show them that way. When I'm not talking, I'll log back into StreamYard and show you that. But I think that that is a cool feature of StreamYard and sharing live audience questions with at-home guests, because it gives you the ability, just like Remo does, gives you the ability to see the questions. And then StreamYard also allows you to display the questions. So that's just an additional feature.
So Rebecca, I'm going to show, so James is asking about the video comes through as restricted. I've had other attendees experience the same. Is there a setting in YouTube that allows to stream to the company computers in safe mode? So that's what we're talking about with the private, the public, or the unlisted. And I'm going to share my screen really quickly because I have my YouTube up right now. And this is my back end control of my YouTube studio. So this is the video that I have up. This is just a video that I have existing. So it works with videos that you have existing, and it also works with live feeds that are coming through YouTube. Whenever you upload the video or whenever you start to broadcast, you're going to have this box that's just called visibility. If you open visibility, this is where we're talking about to save or publish as a private event. That is where you're going to get the restricted errors. Unlisted is what you're calling safe mode. Unlisted means that only the people who have this direct link are going to be able to see this video. You are putting this direct link into Remo, so Remo becomes a viewer, and that's how we can see it. Or public, which means this is now going to go out on your channel, and you can take that URL and put it into Remo. So anybody can watch it on YouTube, anybody can watch it on Remo, or whatever area that you're looking at. So what we're talking about is, if you want the safe mode, is click unlisted, and then that is how you'll be able to do it in your safe mode. Hopefully that answered the question.
And those three options are on YouTube also. So
yeah.
That's like reiterating, like Remo does it the same way.
Yeah. So, well, that's the YouTube that I just showed. So that wasn't Remo. That was the YouTube. Next question is, what is best for hybrid events and sharing live audience questions with at-home guests? That's what you're going to talk about now, right?
Yeah. So in StreamYard, and let me share StreamYard. In StreamYard, one of the cool options is that you can have it where it shows, I'll just share my entire screen. Allow. You can have it where it shows audience questions. So this is just an example, but you could have something show up like this that's branded with your colors. And where the duck is, that's StreamYard's logo, would be the person's picture from either YouTube or Facebook. It would have their name here and it would have a comment here. So, hello, I'm so happy to join today. Maybe somebody comments like that. And then once you're there, oh, it's not, sorry, I was trying to show you like a real comment, but you can display comments here, which is kind of a cool feature. One of the features that might help if you're doing a live interactivity based session where you want the speakers to be able to interact with questions. That's one of the cool features of StreamYard, is this display. There are also banners in StreamYard that you can display. So you can have something go across the bottom, or you can have something pop up like this.
Yeah.
So.
And I like that because we also have a lot of questions from use cases where you're doing a fundraiser or you're doing a raffle or you're doing something where you need your guest to take specific action. And this is how you can get them that information. Some people ask, like, how can we have a silent auction and we just need to remind them when the bids are going to be closing. So if you're up here in presentation mode, those under banners, those lower thirds are really great ways to relay communication. If you want to do a third-party software because you're doing polling or you're doing some games on something like Aha Slides, you can embed a QR code right there as well. So people can just get out their phones and do a QR code. So there's a lot of enhancements that you can do to your stream as well, so that you can really have a full guest experience and layer in some additional content and some additional guidance through these through StreamYard, through OBS, and then through one thing I'm going to show you guys right now is we touched on this the other day, but I know for the folks who weren't here, we talk about I want to show you what looks like. I'm not using my microphone and camera in here. I can't turn it on because it's already being used. But so this is an example of a background. You can add text, and the text will pop up. So you can have slides. But you can see the interface looks a little bit more simple. So I just tamp this down and I can resize it. I can move it around. My screen would pop up here inside of it, or I can make the slides full. So I can add images. I can add different types of screens. If I want to have a screen inside of a screen, how we're talking about the Inception, what this would do would be able to let you look a little bit more like your nightly newscast, where you have, like, over your shoulder, you have that screen that you want to display inside of this. So I just move over into here, and now I'm able to toggle back and forth. So I have my scenes that you saw in OBS where you had all the different scenes built. I have mine built down in this bottom row. So this is what the back end of looks like. Apologies, I didn't have everything completely set up. So I just wanted to show you, for those of you guys who weren't familiar with what look like. One other thing that, so James is saying that your live stream came through as restricted, even though you had it unlisted. I'm not sure. Did it come up as restricted, James, when you saw it inside of Remo? Okay, so I'm not sure. If you could do me a favor, if you can take a screenshot of what you're seeing. Rebecca, are you still broadcasting through the YouTube? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'm kind of doing things on the back end. I am not still broadcasting to YouTube, but I can if you guys need that to happen.
Yeah, because I just want to test it to see if that happens as well with James. While she's doing that, I want to show you a different way to stream. So Twitch is another platform, and we have a lot of use cases where people want to have DJs, or they want to have live auctioneers, or they want to have like for myself, I'll do live call bingo, and I will do that via Twitch. So I have my own Twitch TV channel, but I'm placing just in a live stream into that broadcast video. So this is what you saw down in the, oh, of course, I pick a channel that went offline. But if they were online right now, they would be streaming through. And it's through Twitch Studio. So Twitch Studio is very much like simplified, like, but you can create scenes and you can create other layers like you can in OBS. So it's kind of like a hybrid of those two. And from the Twitch Studio, that's how you put things into Twitch TV. And then you'll grab the Twitch TV URL and you'll put those into Remo or to wherever you want to go. But the big thing with that is if you're using a live DJ, or if there's something that you want to do live and you're going through Twitch, you do have to put it from a studio. So that is a downloadable feature that Twitch offers. Pam is seeing you as backwards. I'm seeing you as normal.
I think that this is a really good question to get into. So Pam asked, why is your shirt backwards now? And it might be for you guys. I want to point out that at least right now in Remo, whenever I have text that's up behind me or that's on my shirt, I always see it as backward. So if you see it in general, if you're doing this at home and you see text as backward, don't freak out. Probably people see it forward for you. But right now I see that my Remo is facing backward, but my shirt is facing forward. So I can tell that something is wrong for you guys. So I can show you how to change that in OBS, but basically you just have to take your camera source and transform it. So you can just, I don't know if you want me to go into it, but I can say verbally, you just right click on it, click transform, and then you can flip. And I'll do that real quick so that I can fix it on the OBS side.
And I will say right now that my Remo logo to me is backwards. So that way I know to you it's forwards. So there is some mirroring that happens whenever you go out of OBS into other programs. So if I share I'm going to share my OBS really quickly so you guys can see my OBS. So if you see at OBS, my Remo is forward and I'm out of my virtual camera. But if I come back into Remo, for me, let me go back here. But if let me share this screen so you guys can see what I'm seeing. This will be a little inception. So I'm going to take us into tile view really quickly. If you can see here inside, you see how the Remo is backwards on my screen, but it's forwards for you. So there is mirroring that happens.
So don't freak out.
Yeah. The bottom line is don't freak out if it's mirrored. Just that's when you ask somebody, you get in a little bit early and be like, is it backwards for you or is it okay for you?
We both did that at the beginning of this meeting. We were like, is this looking okay? Is that looking okay? So that's why it's great to have other people to confirm before your event guests arrive.
Yeah. So Pamela is asking, is there a way to embed a Spotify or Apple playlist into the left billboard? Left billboard is the same as the video mode up here. It has to be run through a video sourced URL. So you can create your Spotify or Apple playlist and again, run it through one of these servers. If I'm wrong, Rebecca, run it through one of these servers and come in through like a YouTube or come in through a Twitch. And you can do it that way. So that way you can play the sound through that way. But as far as just taking a Apple playlist that is just in Apple, like an MP4, you can't copy and paste it. It has to be video based. And if you guys noticed, Rebecca's shirt flipped, but so did she.
Yeah, it's mirroring. So sometimes helpful platforms like Remo show you yourself the way that you see yourself in the mirror so that you don't freak out about the way that you look. But it's just so you know, even if text is backward for you, text is forward for your participants. And hopefully someone helpful like Pam will let you know if you're showing up backward, and it's pretty easy to fix.
And this is the other thing for me, is that when I try to demonstrate, for me right now, the chat is over there. But for some of you, I'm pointing the wrong direction. So I have to remember I'm mirrored. And so am I pointing the right way now for the chat? Like, is the chat that way? So for me, I'm backwards. So I am mirrored inside of Remo right now because I'm like, oh, chat's right there. That's over there. This is right here. So my cardinal directions are backwards as well. So there is a mirroring effect that does happen. So Pam, thank you for reminding us about that. And the last question we have in here is, what is best for hybrid events and sharing live audience questions at home with guests? Okay, so we talked about like that already, but I want to get into which is best for hybrid events. And I think that goes right back again into what is the end result of what you need to do. If you have multiple cameras, so we have a good example of this. A couple weeks ago, we had a wok cooking class, and the person leading the wok cooking class had 4 cameras. And those 4 cameras, one was on him in a shot, one was over his food, one was over his prep station, one was over his cleaning station. And so he used an external mixer called a Blackmagic, and he was able to change his cameras, and he ran all of those through, I believe it's through OBS into YouTube. They may have just run it straight into YouTube and didn't do any of these and just broadcast live. But it depends on a few things. Number one, what's your budget? If you don't have a budget, that kind of helps solve that question for you. How complex and where are the sources coming in from? Those are your deciding factors. And again, like I said, I do know a lot of our folks who are in the UK and in Europe, they do prefer to use the XCam and Minicam. Folks here in the States, I've heard, prefer to use OBS and Streamyard. So honestly, a lot of it is operator preference. To be honest, Rebecca, I don't know if you see things different than that, but
I think you did a great job of explaining it. And also you'll get to know one of them over another one of them, or maybe your client will be using one already coming into it. The great thing is that several of these work together, and you can kind of cobble together a solution, or you can pick the one solution that works for you and just try to direct your clients to it. But there are different platforms and they all have slightly different offerings, and you can get them to do slightly different things together. So I would say with OBS and with StreamYard, OBS is really good for creating the scene that you want, the way that you want it to look. StreamYard is great for multiple guests with not much customization. It takes a lot less time to show a lot more people, and you can do different views of the people. So although you could do that in OBS, I would recommend if you're not familiar with either platform, StreamYard might be great for that.
So just to recap, so is really great for virtual backgrounds, for slideshows, for looking very much like a news, and it's very, very simple. There is a cost to it. There is a free aspect of it, and there is a cost to it. I actually really, really love. You have OBS. OBS is a free software. You're on your OBS right now?
This is OBS here.
And I'm on my OBS right now. So OBS, you can do a few different things. You can set up previews. It's more of a broadcast control room, to use just some sort of analogy.
Yeah.
So it's like a broadcast control room where you can create a lot of layers. You can create as much complexity as you want. And you have a studio section where you can preview and have like 2 things set up that you can switch back and forth between. You have Streamyard, which you have to pay for, XCam, Manycam. I don't have a lot of experience with those 2, but they are fee-based as well. But with Streamyard, to me, the format and the layout looks very similar to Twitch Studio, which looks very similar to some of the aspects of it. So some of them really just they look similar. So if you have one and you've mastered one, you can pretty easily figure out the other ones. And there's so many YouTube videos out there for those specific products to help you as well. But the bottom line is then when you route it into something like Remo, you can either run it through YouTube if you want to disperse it out to different places, or you can run it straight into Remo as a virtual background camera. We have one more question. Does Blackmagic Switcher work the same way as A10 Mini Pro, or do they have different functions? I am not an expert on the A10 Mini Pro, so I can't answer that question.
Answer that question. I don't have either of those softwares, but do know people with A10 minis that really enjoy them, but I'm not currently using one.
And James did point out that they use Livestream Studio, which is owned by Vimeo, and route it into Vimeo for sharing into Remo. And unfortunately, I'm so sorry, I didn't even talk about Vimeo because I just don't use it a lot. But I will say that I do hear from some of our hosts that they prefer Vimeo to YouTube because they feel it's a cleaner, more crisp picture that's coming in than just from YouTube itself. So again, these are things that we just want to show you some of the concepts, show you some of the products that are out there and how to use them basics. And then you will generally find which one is your preference, either how easy it is for you to use, how easy it is for you to teach, what you think of the quality of one over the other. Pam is saying that images tend to be better on Vimeo. And Pam, James thinks that the A10 Mini is a Blackmagic switcher. It's like one of them. So with that, we're right at our time right now. I'm going to see if there's any last minute questions. Rebecca, how can somebody get in touch with you if they would like to have some more information?
Yeah, my company is called PKA Solves, and I can make a tiny lower third that I can display the rest of the meeting. But if you go to pkasolves.com, that's a great way to get a hold of us, or info@pkasolves.com is our email address. So feel free to reach out if you're playing around with some of this stuff and you want to hop in a Remo room and figure it out together. Thanks
and
so
as
much,
a reminder,
Katrina.
You're welcome. And as a reminder, Rebecca's in Florida. So are you in the Florida that's on Eastern time, or does
Yes,
part of
we're
Florida
on
go to
the
Central? Okay.
East Coast time zone for the US.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Rebecca. I really, really appreciate you coming in and helping us out with this. We have a lot planned in the future around this as well, because we do know that there's the future. I would just like to put a plug in, speaking of the future, on the 28th of October. It's a Thursday at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. We are going to have a special event where we will be releasing the report information that we had been gathering with Demand Metrics. So we have a data report, and we're going to be giving insider look into strategies and tips for planning 2022. So based on data and analysis that we have done, we are going to be able to give a lot of really good insights into what the future is going to hold for 2022 for events. So we would love it if you could come to that. There is going to be an Eventbrite, but I don't have that link right now. So I'm going to just give you guys the straight Remo link if you would like to come. So that is the link, and it is the 28th of October from noon or 3 Eastern. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm going to be down at the tables hanging out for just a couple more minutes. Rebecca, I'm not sure if you have a few more minutes, but we'd be happy to answer some of your questions one-on-one there. And thank you guys, everybody. We really appreciate you joining us today.